Hello. So here we are looking at a wonderful plant that grows all around the Rocky Mountains and really the western United States in general, a lot of the United States too. And this is Oregon Grape. So Oregon Grape, the Latin name is Mahonia. This one's Mahonia repens. We also have Mahonia aquifolium around here and other places through the west. And this is a very common plant that really grows all over here and is a pretty recognizable plant because these leaves you see, they're very dark green. They don't look so shiny right now, but a lot of times they're very shiny, kind of leathery leaves. They have these nice, really thorny, kind of serrated edges on these leaves, so they can be a little pokey too. And then the other really telling part of this plant is this nice woody stem here. As soon as you peel back the bark on this, it's very yellow inside of here. Now this yellow quality in here is because this plant contains a lot of what we call berberine in it. Now berberine is a pretty famous alkaloid and a pretty famous chemical that many of us know because of golden seal. Berberine is one of the active constituents in golden seal. It's also one. And this chemical constituent is very antimicrobial, it's very antiviral, antiparasitic, antifungal, so it can be used for a lot of different types of infections. Now, in terms of Chinese medicine, Oregon grapefruit we would most often put in the clear heat and drain damp category. And it enters the channels of the liver, the large intestine, and the gallbladder. So especially if you're having any sort of inflammation, infection, toxic accumulation in those systems, the large intestine, the liver, gallbladder system, this plant is extremely good for you and extremely effective medicine. Typically, when we're using this plant, we're going to take the bark from the root. Now this plant has a rhizome that'll kind of go underneath the ground and it'll just travel horizontally underneath the ground. So you can see this whole plant here probably shares a similar rhizome, that it's all kind of connected into this whole network. So we can dig up that rhizome, scrape off the bark from that rhizome, and that's really where the good medicine is in this plant. Like I said, it's often dealing with what we say clear heat and drain damp. So in the liver system, this is going to be anything from, inflammation in the liver due to hepatitis or toxicity, perhaps maybe just some slow, poor digestion where you need help, especially digesting fats and proteins. The bitter qualities in this plant are going to help with a lot of that fat digestion and help a lot of the bile be produced and flushed in the liver and gallbladder system. Or if there's an infection a little deeper in your digestive tract, in the large intestine system, say some sort of dysentery or something along those lines, this plant is an extremely effective medicine for that. Now you can also use the leaves of this plant too, the berries of this plant. Really, it's a very versatile plant that we can use a whole lot of different parts of. The berries are this nice kind of purplish blue color, which that gives it the name, the Oregon grape. It kind of looks like this little grape. And the berries are pretty sour tasting, but they're definitely edible and you can eat them. A lot of people like to make jelly out of them. I heard one recipe that you can make wine with them too. And in those cases, if you're going to do it, you might want to remove the seeds because the seeds are especially bitter in them and they might not add a quality that you want to this, to your medicine with this. So Oregon grape is an extremely ubiquitous plant that we have all over the place and very good for a lot of those, toxic accumulations that we have in our system, but it's not one that we would want to use long term necessarily. Now there's some reports that if we use the entire rhizome, not just the bark and the outside of it, but the inside of it too, then it can be clearing deficient heat in your body. Now those might be symptoms such as hot flash, malar flush, night sweats, and those kind of things. So in that case, you perhaps could use a little bit longer term, but even still, those bitter qualities is something that we're not always wanting to use long term. So if you come across this plant and when you're out hiking and in the woods, then definitely give it a look, give it a try, give it a taste, and you'll notice some of those nice bitter qualities in it. Around this time of year is the perfect time to harvest it too. We see the leaves that are just starting to kind of turn this beautiful kind of reddish rusty color. And so that's the time once the berries have been produced, the seeds have fallen to the ground, we can collect parts of these rhizomes and scrape off the bark and use that for medicine. So hopefully you learned a little bit about Oregon grapefruit and can use it as some medicine in the future. And thank you for listening.